Hey travelers, today I want to talk to you about group travel, and if you're picking the resort for your group to travel to, then there's a few things that you probably don't know that you should consider when it comes to picking an all-inclusive beach resort for your next group trip. So stay tuned for all of these tips. Now, I've been on tons of group trips, whether it's been with work colleagues or groups of friends where we've all traveled together. And usually I'm the one who's organized the trip because of all my experience in the last 20 years of both traveling and researching resorts. So I can usually fairly easily narrow down what type of resort we're looking for, taking into consideration everybody's budget, what destination we're all looking for, the amount of travel time, as well as all of their other considerations, such as what types of food they might want, whether they've got any dietary restrictions, types of alcohol, as well as service, and whether or not they have a spa. I'm not a spa person myself, but there are other people who just want to pamper themselves. So taking all that into consideration, sometimes that's a lot of boxes to tick. It's really difficult sometimes to find a resort that's going to work for everybody, but here's the secret that a lot of people don't know. Once you get to the resort, you are going to be talking and chatting and having so much fun that the minutia of what's happening at the resort oftentimes gets unnoticed. So based on that, you don't necessarily need to pick the top resort that you've ever been to, especially if you experience that on your own or with your traveling partner, because even in those two situations, you will notice things a lot more. And I actually did another video on single travelers and what they should consider in a resort, so I'll link that at the end. Stay tuned for that. Now, if it's people you don't know that well, you may want to choose a room for yourself where you've got a nice balcony view so that you can go and, if you're getting changed, you can go and escape for a little bit, take a cocktail back to the room, sit on the balcony and enjoy it, and not be so worried about being outside in the public areas with everybody all the time, because everybody all the time can get a little wearing. So when it comes to group travel, you definitely do want to pick a resort that's consistently good with service, as well as food and drinks. Those are the key things. But whether or not the resort is older, Dreams Aventuras Riviera Maya is one of my favorite resorts. I've been to it several times with other couples as well. Tried and true. Over the years, it's gone through a management change. They've renovated. The rooms still are a little bit on the older side. They've updated the decor, so looks-wise, it looks just fine, but it is an older building for sure. But that said, I've returned so many times, and one of my friends won't actually stay anywhere else. I mean, the only way we can get him to stay at another property is if we actually go to Cabo or Puerto Vallarta. The price point is always good. The service has been consistently good. The food is tasty. They actually know how to use spices. So everything tastes good. And even when we've gone to the sushi restaurant, which he's not a fan of, sorry, Gary, I'm like telling all your secrets here, but he was able to find spring rolls and some rib bits that he really enjoyed. So, I mean, there's always something, and especially with the resorts that are good like this, if they don't have something that somebody in your group wants to eat, they will make you something. People have so many food restrictions and dietary requirements these days that the resorts have learned that they must be flexible. So you're really not going to have a problem finding something for somebody who has a little bit more restrictions on the list of foods that they eat. So just remember, when you're booking for a group and you're trying to pick the right resort, I mean, first off, I would always seek out a travel agent. So you want to speak with somebody who's actually been to these properties, who's been to the destination, who can tell you from one resort to the next which one has flavorful foods, a good variety at the buffet, that kind of thing, as well as, just the service in general, because again, that is something that is going to be most noticeable to you and your guests. It doesn't have to be the best of the best resort. You definitely as well don't want to go with cheap and cheerful. If a resort is trying to cut corners, the first two places that they're going to cut is food and beverage. And in terms of the beverages, I mean, if you're drinking tequilas or Bloody Caesars or Bloody Marys, then the type of vodka or tequila that they put in there isn't going to make a huge difference, because those are such flavorful drinks that you're not really tasting the alcohol. Your stomach's going to notice it, but you may not notice it on your palate as much. With the food, not only is it going to be less variety, but it's also going to be the choices of items, whether or not they have prawns or crab legs out, whether or not you get lobster for your surf and turf meals, that kind of thing, as well as the steaks are likely to be more of an average cut as opposed to a premium cut of meat.
It smells amazing. Canada, I'm not coming home. That's it, I'm moving here. This is amazing.
So, you know, these are just little things to take into account. So if you're planning on booking a group trip, there's definitely things to consider, and feel free to message me. I am happy to give you my recommendations. Like I said, I think I've been to about 300 resorts in Mexico and the Caribbean, so I've been to a couple of places. So I can probably recommend one that's right for you, or at least help you by suggesting what questions you want to ask the rest of your group so that you can narrow down the choice of resorts to one that's going to fit everybody's budget as well as their needs and wants. So before you go, don't forget to check out this video here. This is about single travelers. And remember, I spoke about if you're traveling as a single person, it is hugely different to what you're going to notice and be aware of and what you're going to want to book in terms of a single traveler by comparison to traveling as a couple or even as a group. So be sure to check that out. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos. And we'll see you on the next one.